international community once again to put pressure on North Korea. We want to make sure that all the parties in the region recognize that this is a serious and ongoing threat that has to be dealt with.
President Obama responding to the latest act of North Korean aggression against South Korea. And we're back now with the panel. As I discussed with the senators, the U.S. and South Korea have begun naval exercises, war games in the Yellow Sea off the coast of both North Korea and China, ignoring protests from those countries. Bill, how serious is the situation there? Are we overstating it? And what can the U.S. do about it?
It's pretty serious. North Korea has killed South Koreans in an unprovoked attack. They killed other South Koreans, 8 months ago, the attack on the ship, and they're testing nuclear weapons. And the regime is unstable and tyrannical, and that's a pretty bad situation. President Obama himself didn't quite seem to have his heart in it when he said, we're once again rallying the international community to put pressure. You know what, that's fine, but we should try to destabilize the regime during this transition. It's not easy for this regime to make the transition from Kim Jong-il to his 27-year-old son. We should be doing everything we can to bring down this terrible regime, end that nuclear weapons problem, and reunite the two Koreas.
Mara.
That is easier said than done.
Well, I can't do it. All I can do is talk here.
Look, North Korea is a really difficult problem because nobody understands what's going on there. There's no internal pressure. There's no kind of, Aung San Suu Kyi. There's nothing there, and China doesn't seem to want to cooperate right now. What China wants, of course, is stability. They don't want North Korea to implode and send millions of people over their border.
But they sure aren't putting much of a damper on. So it's unclear what the Chinese think is the best way to resolve this. But North Korea seems determined to be a nuclear power and to provoke a real confrontation. I'm going to switch subjects on you, though, if you want to talk about North Korea. I'm sure, Liz, that you will go ahead and do so. We're waiting, and we expect within the next 24 hours that WikiLeaks is going to have another release of tens of thousands, perhaps more than 200,000, apparently classified State Department documents, files, cables, etc. You used to work in the State Department in the last administration. Is this just a matter of being embarrassing, or could this really be damaging?
Well, I think judging from what we've seen, some of the official American statements about it, it could be potentially very damaging. And we know that the last dump of WikiLeaks docs, in fact, put people's lives at risk, people that we'd been working with in Afghanistan and Iraq. So I think, once again, the government of Iceland ought to shut down that website. I think they ought to, stop allowing this stuff to come out of the website in Iceland. And I think that the administration ought to be focused very much on prosecuting those responsible. Back on North Korea for just a second, I do think that what we've seen there is an example of how provocative American weakness can be. And I think that, unfortunately, it is a policy of weakness that has expanded back into the Bush administration, into the last years of the Bush administration. I think that, we've seen time and time again, North Korea, they test a nuclear weapon, there are no consequences. They build a reactor for the Syrians, there are no consequences. And what they've learned is that their belligerence, in fact, oftentimes yields from us capitulation and concessions. I think that it's time for us to put them back on the terrorist list. And I think it's time for us to be very direct with China and say, if you really do want to be the world power that you aspire to be, you've got to step up to the plate here. You can't just benefit from the open economic system in the United States, from the open economies around the world. If you really do view yourself as a world power and you want the rest of the world to view you that way.
Saying that?
I don't know. I don't think that we are, actually. I think that we've been tiptoeing around the Chinese. I think if you look at what happened last July when we said we were going to have joint military exercises with the South Koreans, the Chinese objected, said don't do it in the Yellow Sea. We said okay, and we moved it.
Yeah, but this time we did do it in the Yellow Sea.
That's right. That's a good step. But I think that our message to them has got to be much more direct and much stronger than it has been. This isn't about pleading with the Chinese to help us. It's about saying to them, if you don't step up to the plate here, you're going to end up with nuclear proliferation throughout your neighborhood. And that is not the way that a world power acts.
I was going to ask, is that a card that we should play to say the South Koreans, maybe you should begin your nuclear program, Japan?
No, I don't think we should say that to those countries, but I think we should be clear to the Chinese that if they don't step up to the plate and get the North Koreans, they are the North Koreans' largest trading partner, their closest ally, if they do not engage more effectively and directly in getting the North Koreans to stop what they're doing, the result will be a nuclear proliferation in that neighborhood.
Juan, I put a buffet table of treats in front of you. Go ahead.
Well, thank you for that holiday invitation.
There you go.
But I must say, it sounds like warmongering. We're already engaged in 2 wars. In Afghanistan, Iraq, we have tensions in the Middle East, and Bill and Liz say, oh, let's go to war with China. This is madness.
Wait a minute.
Nobody said that.
Both of them said, look, if you think we're not being directed, we're not engaged in war games in territory that China has already said belongs to them, that those are their waters and that we're doing illegal. So you can't say that we're not being direct and tough. If you simply want to embarrass the Chinese and force them into a position where they feel like they're losing face and that they have no option but to appear to be simply abiding by U.S. dictates, that's a losing hand, Liz.
But you think that we've got a winning hand now, Juan? You think what we've been doing for the last 5 years
Liz,
so the Chinese
wait, let Liz go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you think that what we've been doing for the last 5 years has worked? I mean, what we've been doing basically is saying we're going to offer carrots to the North Koreans because we're going to talk them out of their program, and we're going to plead with them to stop. And, by the way, we're going to ignore evidence that they've got an enrichment program going on, which we learned this week they actually do have
We didn't
going
even
on.
know about the uranium. But I must say, the Chinese have now said, let's have more 6-party talks. The U.S. government, the Obama administration, has refused so far. They don't want more talks. They're being very clear and hard line. So it does not seem to me that your argument that there's somehow softness going on here is in the play at all. What's going on is we need to find a way to resolve this issue, and the administration, contrary to what Bill had to say, has been demonstrating admirable restraint and not warmongering and saying, oh, yeah, go in there and start a fight that you can't finish.
I am for doing whatever you can do through covert action and other bribes and everything.
That's not
if they're doing it, more power to them. Just as in Iran, the Stuxnet virus seems to have slowed down their nuclear program. I am for, we cannot, as with Iran, what's going to do more good? All the talks we've had or actually subverting their nuclear program? In North Korea, what would do the most good is trying to find fissures in the military, people who are upset about this 27-year-old son taking over and bring down the regime. I'm not calling for war. I am calling for everything we can do.
Let me ask, please. What makes you think if we brought down that regime, the next regime would be any better?
It couldn't be worse. It couldn't be worse. And it would be, there would be reunification on the Korean Peninsula. Maybe the Chinese would want to keep a sort of token North Korea up by their border for their own sake, but about 2/3 of North Korea could become part of a unified Korea, and that would be a lot better than the current situation.
South Koreans want to do that in a manageable way, not all of a sudden in huge chaos.
Well, we should help them do it. If this chaos, the chaos of refugees fleeing across the border to freedom is a chaos we should welcome compared to the current situation.
And I think that the extent to which our allies in the region, the Japanese, the South Koreans, the extent to which they understand that, in fact, we are committed to ensuring that the North Koreans don't proliferate, the fact that we are committed to matching our rhetoric with action will make us all much more safe and secure.
Thank you, panel. See you all next week.